locked in. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 3, right here on your home for Sooner fans, the Ref Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the home of Sooner fans, KREF, Norman, Oklahoma, and streaming live on the KREF app. The Ref Sports Radio Network.
It's the biggest event of the year. The Black Friday sales event is happening now at Lander CDJR of Norman. This Black Friday, shop up to $18,000 off of new 2024 Ram 1500 or $15,000 off of new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Visit us at Lander CDJR of Norman or check out the deals online at landercdjrnorman.com. Hurry in because these deals won't last long. 2024 Ram 1500 AWD, stock number RN207871. 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited AWD, stock number RC105355.
Tired of your current living situation? Now is the best time to make a move. Interest rates are dropping and Home Creations is offering the best financing around with rates as low as 3.75%. This will save you hundreds per month on your brand new Home Creations home. Live like a champion today by calling Holly at 405-364-9999 for full details.
364-9999 Home Creations.
APR 6.411%.
Smokey the Bear.
Then you know why Smokey tells you when he sees you passing through. Remember, please be careful, it's the least that you can do.
What you desire, don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
After 80 years of learning his wildfire prevention tips, Smokey Bear lives within us all. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com. And remember,
only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest. Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
The holidays are approaching, and Balfour of Norman can help you make it a Crimson and Cream Christmas for everyone. Locally owned for more than 45 years, Balfour on Campus Corner has always been a favorite of Sooner fans. For holiday decorating, you will find Christmas ornaments, stockings, Christmas cards, and other decorations, including a 7-foot-tall inflatable Santa. So stop by the store on Campus Corner for all the latest and greatest in OU gear, or shop online at crimsonproud.com, where you will find everything Sooner.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Life can be complicated, but saving money shouldn't be. At OU Federal Credit Union, they make saving simple and stress-free. The best part? They have no hidden fees. Joining OUFCU means you're in control of your financial future. Whether it's a rainy day fund or saving for that dream vacation, they've got you covered. Visit OUFCU.com or come by one of their branches today. OU Federal Credit Union, where savings is simple and dreams come true. Member savings insured up to $250,000 by the NCUA.
The Ref Radio Sports Network is powered statewide by the insurance adjusters at Brown O'Haver. Fire, wind, theft, or tornado, we can help. Call 405-735-5510. Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings Studios, it's time to get locked in to the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Tyler McComas and Parker Thune.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000. Text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Tyler McComas and Parker Thune.
Am I still on cloud nine from Saturday's win against Alabama? Why, yes. Yes, I am. Was it one of the favorite home games of my lifetime watching Oklahoma football? Yes, it was. Absolutely. Will I be disappointed, Parker Thune, if they go on the road at LSU and revert back to the team that we've seen for the majority of the season? Yes, I will be. Come on, man. You got some momentum. You've got some confidence. You're coming off your best game of the season. You're coming off the best defensive performance, arguably, in all of the SEC this year. You're coming off your best offensive performance of the year. You feel good about yourself. You got an identity. I don't want any crap this week about, well, we got to 6 wins. We're going to a bowl game, so whatever happens in Baton Rouge is just a cherry on top. I hope we go down there and compete and maybe even win the game. But if we don't, it's okay. We got to our goal of winning 6 games. I don't want to hear that crap this week. I want to go down. I want to be competitive. I want to go win the frickin' football game Saturday in Baton Rouge. I hope everyone else is with me, Parker Thune, but I don't want any, we're just kind of, whatever happens, we got the 6 wins. No, you got some momentum, you got some confidence. Go down there and get your 7th win on Saturday, man. Come on.
As we talked about yesterday, Tyler, over 7.5 wins still technically on the table for this football team. And, yeah, what you don't want, I think, what you would much rather have is an Alabama win that kicks off a 3-game winning streak to close out an otherwise tumultuous season, as opposed to the Alabama game being the one shining moment before it's back to the same old for this football team. And LSU's been streaky. It's a matchup of 2 streaky teams this weekend in Baton Rouge. LSU has been up. They have been down. Their lows have been really low. They lost to USC in the season opener. Alabama waxed them by 30 before turning around and losing by 3 touchdowns in Norman. So I don't really know what to expect out of this football game, but for Oklahoma, man, it is an opportunity to close the season on a very, very high note and potentially reshape the narrative entirely as you head into the offseason and turn the page to 2025. We're talking about how this program is going to be talked about nationally.
You can go win this game. Ultimately, we'll find out on Saturday if you actually do or not. But, based on what we've seen from Oklahoma recently and even in some of their losses, based on what we've seen from LSU previously, this Oklahoma team, though it's had its struggles this year, we know that, it is good enough to go to Death Valley at night and go down on the road and win at LSU. It is. They're going to have to do a lot of things right. It's going to have to look like the offense that we saw last week in a lot of ways. But I don't believe for one second that OU is going to go down there and just get absolutely curb stomped, or they're not going to be, in this game or not good enough to win. They are absolutely good enough to win this game. And my hope, man, because they showed a lot of progress, and that's something that kind of amidst all this excitement yesterday, we really didn't talk about much yesterday. But really for the first time this year, I think we saw – I don't know about for the first time this year. That may be wrong because I think we have seen offensive improvement since Joe John Finley took over. But that's the most progress that we've seen so far this year. They had 2 weeks after that crushing Missouri loss. That showed real progress for this team. All right, you got another week. You got another opportunity. Let's go see it again. You can beat this LSU team. You can absolutely do that. And what is the offseason feeling, Parker Thune? If you beat Alabama by 3 scores, you go down to Baton Rouge and win. Who knows who you play in a bowl game, you win that one. I'm not asking for anybody to call the season a success if that happens.
Yeah.
But what's our off-season mood if they do finish the season 8-5?
Well, I think if you finish 8-5, here's how you're feeling, Tyler. Despite the reality that this season has been generally not fun for this fan base to witness, and certainly has not lent itself to insane degrees of optimism about the future of the program, what you can say objectively heading into the offseason, if you go 8-5, is in a season where we took more kicks to the groin than any Oklahoma football team in the 21st century, maybe ever, with all of the injuries that piled up, firing an offensive coordinator midseason. It was utter turmoil, complete chaos at times throughout the 2024 season, And we still had the record at the end of the year that everybody nationally expected us to have, which was 8-5. That was just about the median expectation for this football team nationally. So if that's what you could do when the deck was stacked as heavily against you as any deck has ever been stacked, what is this team capable of next year? While granted they have to replace a couple of key contributors, especially on the defensive side, but what are they capable of next year if they don't have half their starting 22 injured?
No, it gives you some real hope. And, it gives you some real hope for next year is what happens, right? If you get the OC hire right, if you're able to stay healthy, I think it would say a lot about the program if that's what happens, man. I mean, how could it not? I think that in a lot of ways on Saturday was a program win. Again, to have that crushing of a loss against Missouri, 2 weeks off, and you come back and play the way that you did and won the game the way that you did. You win that game, you win on Saturday, and you win the bowl game. Kind of says to me, like, man, the chips were really down. Everyone was as down on this team and on this program as they've been in a while, but they found a way to rally and do a lot of good things, towards the tail end of the season. So, I don't know. I thought that was kind of a program win on Saturday, and it would say a lot about the program, man, if they're able to win 3 games to go into the offseason. 405 says, you better beat LSU. They lost to USC with some eyeball emojis there. Yeah, I'd like to beat LSU and then USC, but I think Muleshoe is going to chicken his way out of that potential matchup in Vegas, if I had to guess. No way he says yes to that, right? No way.
If Muleshoe had to play Oklahoma, well, here's the thing: like he can't really say no, can he? Like if he says no, he's the laughing stock of the entire nation. He kind of just has to bite the bullet and play that game.
Yeah, or maybe he goes and takes a Bears OC job or something like that just to weasel his way out of it. I don't know. It'd be amazing. I hope it happens, but I don't know. He'll figure out a way out of it somehow. 918, does Brian Kelly get fired if OU beats LSU? I think he's got like a $60 million buyout. I would guess that he's safe going into next year, but I guess you never know in the SEC. 918, Kyle and Broken Bow says, I wonder what uniforms OU will wear at LSU. I would expect OU to wear their home uniforms and LSU to wear their home white uniforms.
Which is a really great uniform matchup, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think they would wear the alternates. That's been a once-a-year thing the last 3 seasons, and they already wore them this year against Maine. So I don't imagine they pull the Unity uniforms back out. And, of course, the Rough Riders have been permanently mothballed. So, yeah, I think it's going to be standard package for Oklahoma this weekend. Let's see what else we have on the Knippelmeyer.
Well,
Chevrolet
this one
text
says, let me address this one from the 805, because we're going to get a lot into OC talk today, and, of course, Michael Fasusi, all the recruiting updates. What's wrong with keeping Finley as offensive coordinator, says the texter from the 805. Well, I mean, that's just not going to happen. I think it's pretty well known at this point that, Joe John Finley's not going to be your OC or going to be your play caller. I mean, in fact, Bryn has asked questions today at the press conference about the next OC and what he's looking for. And no, he didn't outright say that Joe John is not going to be our OC, but he's not. You know what I mean? Like I think it's pretty clear to everyone what Brent said that, yeah, obviously, like that's not a real option right now. They're going to hire from outside the program.
Yeah, well, it's what you have to do. It's what you have to do right now for so many reasons. You got to make this hire an external one. And look, I'll give credit to Joe John Finley. He deserves credit for the offensive. Like, it's not a drastic turnaround, but it is a turnaround nonetheless. However, it's been the nature of the turnaround has not been innovation. It's just been back to basics. That was the most uninteresting milquetoast game plan imaginable against LSU on Saturday night, but it worked. And you love to see that. Certainly, but is that a game script? Is that a recipe for victory that's going to hold up over the course of a 12-game season in the SEC? I don't necessarily know whether you can be confident in that. And so what you're looking for, ideally, in this search, and Brent Venables talked quite a bit about it in his press conference today, but you're looking for a guy that can run an offense with, and I'll use a word that Venables used here, flexibility. He cited ball control, efficiency, explosiveness. You want an offensive scheme that's going to be diverse and can give you multiple paths to victory, because the recipe for victory for Oklahoma here in 2024, there's only one, right? It's just letting this defense cook, letting this defense play the amazing ball that it's capable of playing, and doing your best offensively to chew clock and give that defense an opportunity to take the requisite breather between possessions to be able to come back out fresh and continue dominating. If Oklahoma isn't moving the chains consistently by hook or by crook Saturday night against Alabama, it's a very different game. And so while that recipe was great and it worked against Alabama, I don't know whether you can count on it working every single week. And you would imagine that with the weapons Oklahoma is going to bring back next season that aren't available right now, but that should be once they get healthy again, you won't have to rely on one singular recipe to win football games.
Guy from Parts Unknown says, I'm sure you're right, but I purposely listened to see if anything he said that disqualified Joe John, and there was nothing. Yeah, and that's kind of the point that I was going to make, too, is he's not going to outright, say that or disqualify Joe John. It's just kind of understood up to this point is that they're going to make another OC hire from outside the program. We'll see if Gary is or Gary. I'm thinking about Gary Cavins here at Cavins Group, which we'll catch up with him later. Gary, my man, we'll catch up with him today. But the Joe John may be back next year. I think he probably could be elsewhere next season. We'll see. Okay, a lot of Fasusi text for the 405. When it comes to Fasusi, what team winning this week helps OU? Texas or Texas A&M? That's actually a pretty good question.
I don't think it matters a ton. I believe Michael Fasusi sticks with Oklahoma right now. I don't think the outcome of that game should too drastically affect where Michael Fasusi winds up signing. To me, it's all a matter of whether Bill Bedenbaugh is retained, and at this time, I expect that he will be, because it's been reiterated to me in conversations with a multiplicity of sources that one of the stipulations for whoever the next offensive coordinator is you're keeping Bill Bedenbaugh. You are not touching our offensive line coach.
Interesting. Okay. Well, glad to hear that you feel pretty good about Michael Fasusi. 8 days until the early signing period. And that's when he's officially still planning on making his decision, right? Like, this decision isn't going to be so difficult for him that he's going to push things back. Like,
yeah,
he's good for 8 days.
Technically, there's not a decision to be made. He's committed to Oklahoma, but I get what you're saying. Like, is he going to sign early? Is he going to wait till February? All indications right now are that he's going to sign early for Oklahoma in the signing period that begins December 4th.
Well, they were asking, it's a good text, what would help more, A&M winning at home? And because that environment's going to be insane if A&M wins. That's going to be like the best show that A&M could possibly have for any recruit. Or is it better that Texas wins? You don't get to see, the great celebration at A&M and all the momentum that they're going to have from that. But it's Texas winning again in front of Michael Fasusi. I'll say this one, like the obvious pick here is that OU winning and winning their final 2 regular season games, Alabama, which I guess I don't know how much of this game he's going to be able to get to see. OU starts at 6, and I think A&M and Texas start at 6:30. But he will learn the fate that happens in Baton Rouge. So OU winning again this week would definitely help too. Definitely help.
Cherokee Sooner with a great text. Everyone fill out your exotic pet application because we're about to own the Tigers.
Nice. I like that.
That's why he's the consensus number 1 texter on the text line. Bangers like that.
You gonna go see Mike the Tiger on Saturday? I know they don't roll him in a cage in the stadium anymore, but I believe he has a habitat outside the stadium somewhere.
I mean, I'm sure, yes, I'll go see Mike the Tiger. As part of the, what do you call it? The pageantry of the LSU experience.
I'll probably go see what Mike's up to and that apparently insanely nice habitat that he has somewhere on campus there in Baton Rouge. Chris from Knoxville says Tulane's regular season ends on Thursday. Oklahoma is at LSU for a Saturday night game. Interesting. I think Chris is getting at a Joe Craddock text there, is what I would guess.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Craddock's in play here, but the guy that I think Oklahoma is going to hire is a guy whose regular season at Washington State is going to be wrapping up probably not much more than a half an hour, maybe an hour before Oklahoma's season wraps up. Washington State concludes their regular season with a 5:30 kick this Saturday night against Wyoming. I believe, if memory serves me correctly, Tyler, that OU and LSU were kicking off at 6, correct?
Yep.
So there you go. Pretty close in proximity there. And so I would think, again, regardless of who the next offensive coordinator at the University of Oklahoma is, you got 24, probably 48 hours after Oklahoma and LSU walk off the field at Tiger Stadium down in Baton Rouge before you know for a fact who the next OC is.
512, the Habitat is right across the street from the stadium. It's incredible. Talking about Mike the Tiger. One-star EJ from Louisiana. I'll be at the game Saturday and would like to meet you all. Well, EJ, can you come to TJ Ribs on Friday, 2 to 6 p.m.? I'll be there for the show on Friday. That'd be cool. Or on Saturday, we'll have our post-game show outside Tiger Stadium, and we'll let you know where we're going to be for there. But, we'll meet up, EJ, for sure. You're one of our best texters on the text line. All right, 405-651-3439. I am at Caven's Group today, 405-573-3048. Remember, you don't need Caven's until you need Caven's, but when you need Caven's, boy, do you need Caven's. Put it in your phone, 405-573-3048. They're on the call 24/7, 365. Matt Brown is getting fired at North Carolina. Could that impact the OU offensive coordinator search? We'll talk about that next right here on The Ref. Horns Down Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the Yums because Spike was safe, Horns Down Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Horns Down celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Orthopedic specialists. With 5 highly trained orthopedic surgeons, 3 fellowship-trained sports medicine physicians, and locations in Norman, Newcastle, and Midwest City, we'll work hard to get you back in the game. Ortho Central, #1 in sports medicine and orthopedic care. Call 405-360-6764 and schedule an appointment today.
What's better than tailgating for football on the weekends? Let the 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A in Norman make you a winner. Whatever you need, we have it. Don't worry about packing everything from home. Let us deliver it to you. Not only do we cater for football games, name the event, and it will be our pleasure to serve you. Need pre- or post-game meals? Having a birthday party? Monday through Saturday, we've got you covered. And even trays prep for those Sundays when you crave Chick-fil-A. Call the 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A at 405-310-3189 today.
It's football time in Oklahoma, and it's the perfect time to build your dream home with K&B Homes. Whether you're in the OKC Metro or beyond, they offer flat fee pricing with no hidden surprises. Bring them your game plan or choose one from the K&B playbook. They will bring your dream home to life with custom woodwork and your personal touches. Make the winning call today with K&B Homes. Call them today at 405-808-9005 or visit kmbhomesllc.com to kick off your project.
How about this? We're hanging out with the winningest coach in OU football history, Bob Stoops, Mondays on the T-Row in the Morning Show. It's the Stoops Review with the HBC on the T-Row Show, Mondays from 7:45 to 8:30 with limited commercial interruption. Every Monday, we'll be looking back at Saturday's OU game with a guy who knows what he's looking at. Bob Stoops, the Visor, the HBC on our show every Monday. Check it out.
Mike Steele here for Lasher Home Comfort Systems, your trusted home comfort experts in the Oklahoma City metro area. Tim Lasher and his team have more than 130 years of combined experience. They recognize a significant number of homeowners live with inadequate home comfort systems. They specialize in diagnosing your home system issues while providing more efficiency and reducing your utility costs. As an authorized dealer of American Standard, Tim can service your residence or business. Call Tim and his team at 405-579-3113. Lasher Home Comfort Systems.
For years, Auto Image USA has been Norman's place for all your auto accessory needs. But now they have closeout prices on their audio department. Brands such as Pioneer, Kenwood, Digital Design, Power Acoustic, and much more. Stop by because once they're gone, they are gone. 2701 Northwest 36th Street in Norman, or call them today, 405-321-4044, or visit AutoImageUSA.com.
are love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Have you wanted to become a member of a golf club but have yet to commit? Whether it's time to treat yourself to a holiday present or decide golf is going to be how you stay healthy and active, this is the time to join Westwood Golf Course. Pay for your first month and get your second month free when you set up a monthly bank draft for an adult annual membership. This is an average savings of over $200 and your membership includes a cart. Come to the Pro Shop before December 31st to get signed up.
Springfield, Ohio is tuned in today. Vista, California, White Oak, Texas, Ackworth, Georgia. Heath, is that you? Bedford, Indiana, Madison, Alabama, Rosemount, Minnesota, Broken Bow, Oklahoma, all tuned in today via the free KREF app. And our Ref Army locator is brought to you by Horns Down Apple Pie. DrinkHornsDown.com. Their store locator is up and running. You can see all the locations where you can find Horns Down Apple Pie. DrinkHornsDown.com. They also have a really cool Twitter page as well that I like to follow and interact with, @HornsDown. That is @HornsDown on Twitter, DrinkHornsDown.com for their store locator. Dink, Addison, I don't know if one or both of you are listening right now, but we have a listener in Ohio asking how they get Horns Down Apple Pie. So if you could send the text line a message or me a message or whatever, if there's a chance that someone in Ohio can enjoy the delicious Horns Down Apple Pie, let me know, and I'll pass that along. All right, Mack Brown, North Carolina, got fired today from UNC, less than a week after he said that he wanted to be back next year. Now, that's the biggest job opening that we have in college football right now, Parker, and I'm wondering how much, if any, that affects OU's pursuits of their next offensive coordinator. I don't think Ben Arbuckle is going to be a realistic candidate for UNC, but Dan Mullen might be.
Well.
And then also Tulane's head coach might be involved in this as well. Might Tulane be in a spot where they end up just, saying, hey, Joe Craddock, do you want this job?
I don't know if Joe Craddock's stock is quite high enough to be the head coach yet at a place like North Carolina. Obviously, that was the one opening. Well, it wasn't an opening yet, but that was the one job that Dan Mullen's name had been most linked to outside of the Oklahoma OC vacancy. And we talked about it last week. Mullen and Jimmy Sexton had just been playing the epitome of hardball with Oklahoma about the whole OC search and vacancy. And it was an opportunity like this that they no doubt were hoping came available, because Dan Mullen, you would think, is going to get a call for a job like that, and he'll more than likely have the opportunity to interview and potentially get the gig. So who knows? I think amongst the realistic OC candidates for Oklahoma that have been mentioned throughout the process, the one that this most likely would diminish the likelihood of for the Sooners would be Dan Mullen, but that likelihood has obviously been diminished for some time now.
Yeah, it feels like it. CBS kind of had a short list. John Summerall, the Tulane head coach, was the first one mentioned there. He's led Troy and Tulane to a combined 32-6 record and 21-2 against conference competition. So John Summerall, kind of a, he's a guy that's about to get a real good head coaching job or a better head coaching job, though he's at a pretty good spot right now. Barry Odom at UNLV was a name that was mentioned.
Okay.
Jamie Chadwell at Liberty, another name. Of course, Dan Mullen, former Florida head coach. And then Andy Kotelnicki, Penn State offensive coordinator. So a couple of names that we've talked about for this job.
I can see Jamie Chadwell ending up with that gig. That makes a lot of sense. That might make the most sense, because he's spent his entire career within probably, a 4-hour radius of UNC. And he's won everywhere. Man, North Greenville, Coastal Carolina. Now he's obviously at Liberty, and he's just kept winning and winning and winning. And he's kept Willie Korn by his side as his right-hand man the whole time. Almost, 12, 13 years now?
13 of his 14 seasons as a head coach, talking about Jamie Chadwell, have been spent in the state of South Carolina. 60 and 25 between Liberty and Coastal Carolina. And made it to the the Fiesta Bowl back in 2013 with Liberty. So, good head coach, but that's the biggest opening that we have right now. Mac Brown will not be back at UNC next year. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Yeah, just back to the whole Dan Mullen thing as we get back to OC talk. That name has really lost a lot of steam since the beginning of last week, has it not?
It has.
And is that more of a Dan Mullen decision? Is that more of an Oklahoma decision? Or is that more of a mutual decision on both sides?
Here's the best way I can put it, Tyler. There was a time when there were folks on the OU side that were very, very confident they were going to be able to put together a package that Dan Mullen would jump at, that he would be willing to, agree to terms given what the Sooners were prepared to put in front of him. Because you have a guy like Dan Mullen who's out there and available, obviously he's going to be the top candidate. That's no slight on a guy like Ben Arbuckle or a guy like Joe Craddock or Jake Spavital or any of those guys. But none of those guys have 2 national championships under their belt as an OC and 13 years of head coaching experience in the SEC. If you can get Dan Mullen, you get Dan Mullen. That's a no-brainer. And Oklahoma put a red eye on Dan Mullen pretty early on in the search. And there was plenty of confidence that, okay, like from the OU side, the word was, okay, we're going to do what it takes to make sure that this is the guy we land, because this is the guy that is most qualified for the task at hand here at Oklahoma. But over the span of about a week or so, the feeling went from, yeah, we're going to do whatever it takes, to, oh boy, this might actually be more of a headache than we thought, to basically, yeah, you know what, screw this. It's just, this is not a battle worth going 15 rounds in.
Yeah, that's probably what it would have been. You feel like you have a deal with him at some point, and then he's like, think about it this way, too, is, let's say going into this week you felt like Dan Mullen was the front runner, and maybe they were close to really inking a deal. How upside down would that have gotten, how much would that have gotten turned over with the North Carolina job now open? Because I would think that he really wants that job if it's available to him. That's something that you probably would have been fighting this entire coaching carousel with him. Other jobs opening up, him showing interest.
Mm-hmm. And Dan Mullen has repeatedly said he'd like to be a head coach. Right, and so the allure from Oklahoma's end was, hey, come here, spend 1 year here, and you turn things around, you're going to be a head coach, as opposed to, maybe you get an offer this cycle, maybe you don't, and with every year that passes where you're not a head coach, you're less and less likely to get the opportunity to be a head coach in the P4 again. But, again, if Dan Mullen and Jimmy Sexton were waiting on a vacancy, it was probably a vacancy like this North Carolina opportunity. So you can take your shot now with an opportunity like that.
Chris from Knoxville says, with the assumption of Arbuckle being the leader in the clubhouse, who would be the dark horses if things fell through, Mac Leftwich or Cade Bell? Good question, Chris, because I had this down today. Who's the under-the-radar name? I put down Tony Romo as a joke because obviously he's very familiar with the program. Do you think he'd wear the same coat on the as an OC that he's worn to both games thus far?
I hope so, man. We need more coaches with distinctive wardrobes.
Mac Leftwich or Cade Bell? There's been a lot of Cade Bell just kind of.
Yeah, Cade Bell's name has gained some traction in recent days. Now, I don't say gain traction like all of a sudden, boom, he's neck and neck with Arbuckle as far as the likely hires for the vacancy, but I have gradually started to hear Cade Bell's name more and more. He seems to be a bit of a late riser. I would put him right there alongside Spavital and Joe Craddock right now as guys that are just kind of looming in the background of this process. And until pen hits paper, we don't know what the outcome here is going to be. I think it's going to be Arbuckle. Everybody seems to think it's going to be Arbuckle, but we don't know this for a fact. And the example I'll keep going back to is, remember the search for the new wide receivers coach back in January of 23? We all thought, oh, it's got to be Malcolm Kelly, right? Why wouldn't Oklahoma hire Malcolm Kelly? And then it wasn't until about 48 hours before the conclusion of the process where we realized, oh, This guy, Emmett Jones from Texas Tech, is a serious contender. And then, boom, he was hired, and that was that.
How would you like to live in a world where OU's next offensive coordinator is named Buster Faulkner? Would you like to live in that world?
That would be fun, I suppose. Buster Faulkner's resume does not move me.
Yeah. Let's see. Georgia is a GA, Valdosta State, Central Arkansas, Murray State, Middle Tennessee State, Arkansas State, Southern Miss, Georgia as the quarterbacks, quality control, and then Georgia Tech since 2023 is the OC tight ends coach.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, that one kind of goes in the same bin as Jake Spavital, where I don't think it's a bad hire if you make it, but by no means do I think that's a home run necessarily. Dan Mullen would have been a home run. That was always, whether it was realistic or not, who knows? Only Dan Mullen and Jimmy Sexton know how much of a willingness there would have been to accept an offer as opposed to just entertain an offer there. But if you're talking home run hires that are on the open market right now, certainly Ben Arbuckle is one of those guys that fits the bill. Joe Craddock is a nominee for the Broyles Award as of today, which, by the way, shout out to Oklahoma DC Zach Alley, who is also on that list.
Yep.
But Joe Craddock, I would think, given his stock elsewhere, and he's been mentioned as a possibility for the Wisconsin job, for the Florida State job, you'd think in this current cycle with the available options, that would be a home run. I'm not as bullish on the hiring of Spavital or Faulkner. Again, not that those hires would be bad, but they're not earth shakers.
Let's see what Jason Witten, he's the head coach at Argyle, Texas Christian, says Jim in Arlington. Well, you at least get his son, who's a 2026. He's 26, right?
His son is 2027.
27, okay. Maybe OU, and I'm sure Tennessee is going to be a heavy player in that one as well. Okay, 615, is Arbuckle more run-oriented than most air raid guys?
Well, here's the thing. Again, I think this goes back to something that I've had to address several times in the last couple of weeks on these airwaves. There's a misconception with the air raid because, and I think it has to do with the nomenclature. It's called the air raid after all, and so there are a lot of people that think air raid, oh, you're putting the ball in the air 60 times a game. That's not reality. That's not what the air raid is about. Lincoln Riley is a noted practitioner of the air raid, and that was never what his offenses were about at Oklahoma. They ran the ball effectively. And I believe in 3 of the 7 years where he was calling the shots at Oklahoma, the Sooners had multiple 1,000-yard rushers in the same season. So air raid guys run the ball. It's not just pass, pass, pass. With Arbuckle, his rush offense has been a little bit unconventional this year up at Washington State because his primary threat in that regard has been his quarterback, John Mateer. And so it's been a QB run-heavy scheme as opposed to more of a traditional rushing attack. But that's because at Washington State, you don't have the same backfield stable that you could offer to Arbuckle with which to create a viable traditional rushing attack at a place like Oklahoma. You give him a backfield that consists of Javonte Barnes and Taylor Tatum and Xavier Robinson and Gavin Sawchuk and Torrey Blaylock coming in next year, right? Andy Bass is on that depth chart. You give him those guys, he's going to incorporate more of your standard rushing offense that's more in line with what you have come to expect from a team schematically. But for right now at Washington State, look, he's just doing what works. John Mateer is really, really good as a runner, elusive, resilient, can break away, can run away from dudes in the open field. And so leaning on Mateer in the rushing offense has been what has worked and continues to work for Wazoo. I don't take issue with it, but I also don't take it as an indication that, well, if Arbuckle's the next OC at Oklahoma, it's going to be 200, 250 rushing attempts next year for whoever's playing quarterback at OU.
David from Norman questioned, why is Dana Holgorsen not getting any attention for the OU OC job? His first year at OSU, they led the nation in offense. Look what he's done in just 2 weeks at Nebraska. Bob Stoops gave him rave reviews. I think that was the 2010 season when he was at Oklahoma State, like living in a hotel, I think is what Dana was doing back
really?
then.
That's so Dana.
Dana is clearly, qualified as an OC. He's been a head coach for a while. I don't feel like he's a realistic candidate. No one's really thrown out his name in a serious manner. Heck, I wonder now, now that Nebraska got to 6 wins, we'll see if they can beat Iowa on, what do they play on Friday again this year, and then win a bowl game. I wonder what the chances are that Dana's back at Nebraska next year. I don't know if they're going to have a national search for an OC or not. I'm not tuned into that. But since you're asking about Dana, maybe he's just back at Nebraska next year as the OC.
A verified source on the text line says, put some respect on Spavital's name. In his first season in Waco, he's boosted the Bears' scoring offense from 23 points per game in 23, 101st nationally, to 33.7 points per game in 2024, 27th nationally. Yeah, he's done good work at Baylor. There's no question about that. And I think what also creates intrigue with Spavital as a potential hire is that we've talked quite frequently about Arbuckle and Mateer potentially headed to Norman hand in hand with one another, as it were. The same could potentially be true of Spavital and his quarterback at Baylor, Sawyer Robertson. That possibility also exists.
All right, 405-651-3439, Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. All right, we'll get to more text, more crootin, more OC talk, OU-LSU. Oh, man. Content all over the place this week, right here on The Ref. We're the home of Sooner fans.
Hornsdown Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the umps because Spike was safe, Hornsdown Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Hornsdown celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Streak, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Don't miss our Digital Dash giveaway every Friday in November.
Play with your wild card to win your share of over $120,000.
The best food, drinks, and service only at Riverwind.
Coach Stoops here for Van Hoos Fence. If you want to work with the best local fence company and get championship service, contact my friend Mark and the Van Hoos Fence team. Van Hoos Fence gives each customer the most professional craftsmanship and competitive pricing in Oklahoma. From wood to chain link to vinyl to metal fences, the Van Hoos Fence team does it all. Contact the Fencing All-Americans at Van Hoos Fence, 405-735-1167 or vhfence.com.
So you want to create your future? Discover a path worth traveling down? Find a career to get excited about. For decades, Moore Norman Tech has been training talented, skilled individuals, empowering them to step into a career that fuels not only their life, but the Oklahoma workforce. These individuals are the heartbeat of this state's economy. Individuals just like you. Create your future today at Moore Norman Tech.
Would you like to play a more active role in your health? At Hightower Clinical, we believe all Oklahomans should have access to new potential treatment options through clinical trial participation. Our team wants to support you with the best care possible through clinical trials. No health insurance is required. Compensation is available for eligible study participants, and study care is provided at no cost.
Having the chance to go through a trial and find out if something works for them and makes their life easier, I would recommend them do it.
To learn more, scan this QR code and visit our website.
Hey Sooner fans, this is Olivia Troutman, 4-time NCAA champion with the Oklahoma gymnastics team. Season tickets are now available featuring an exciting SEC schedule. Go to Soonersports.com to get your tickets. And don't forget to become a member of Team 10 to support OU women's gymnastics and receive unique experiences and special access to the team. Team 10 supports our team above and beyond anything I could have ever dreamed. Go to Soonersports.com to get your season tickets and become a member of Team 10 today. Boomer!
It's that time of year again, Sooner fans. We know that 2024 has not treated you kindly.
Oh, no!
From tryptophan-induced comas.
Save the neck for me, Clark.
To TJ's turkey calls.
Come on, let's turkey.
We know you deserve the best for you and all of yours this Thanksgiving. Just be careful about bringing up the word wishbone in front of Uncle.
Don't even think about the wishbone. It's
mine, or Berry by God Switchers. Happy Thanksgiving and Boomer frickin' Sooner.
From our entire team at the Ref to you and all of yours.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Listeners out there, I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Ref Army, have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Ref Army. Take the Ref with you everywhere you go this Thanksgiving with the KREF app, the home of Sooner fans.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Get the lifestyle you've been missing and drive away for the holiday in a new Buick from Dorsey Jones in El Reno. You'll get savings on a new 2025 Buick Enclave. Take $2,000 off all new Buick Enclaves. This is the dealer discount only. That's Dorsey Jones in El Reno for this great offer. Drive the best, just 15 minutes west. Dorsey Jones Buick GMC, I-40 and Highway 81 exit 125 in El Reno, or dorsey-jonesbuickgmc.com. Exceptional by design. See dealer for details.
Cavens Group is where I'm at today, 24/7, 365. They mean it. So if something goes wrong for you on Thanksgiving Day, let's hope it doesn't, right? Let's all hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving Day on Thursday. We kick back, watch some football, get ready to go down to Baton Rouge and go beat up on Brian Kelly and LSU. But if something does happen, 405-573-3048, 405-573-3048, Cavens Group, always on the call. I don't know how much people value stop rates as a stat in college football, but OU is 12th in the country in stop rate right now. They've been in the top 20, but obviously their performance against Alabama on Saturday, kind of raised their percentages of, how many stops they're getting throughout the game. Man, with everything stacked against them, there's going to be some defensive numbers that look really, really good for this team at the end of the year.
Defensively, Oklahoma has been stellar this season. And here's the thing, Tyler. Here's what has to be taken into consideration when we're talking about this defense and where they fall statistically nationally. A lot of those statistics won't even necessarily indicate just how good this defense has been, because how many times have they been handed a short field to defend by the offense via a turnover, an interception, or a fumble, or something like that, or a fake punt that turned out to be a terrible decision. So this defense, I don't know if the statistics at season's end are necessarily going to do full justice to just how spectacular they have played this season. It hasn't been perfect. It's never going to be. But on Saturday night against Alabama, against a very, very talented Alabama offense with Jalen Milroe at the helm, with Ryan Williams out playing wide receiver, we saw what this defense is capable of when they are not actively and continually disadvantaged and put in compromising spots by Oklahoma's offense.
Yeah, we got to see the true potential, man, what this defense is. And they've got, 72.1% stop rates, 1.41 points a drive so far this year. Only teams that rank higher, Miami of Ohio, Oregon, Sam Houston, Alabama, James Madison, Army, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. Fantastic year for the OU defense. Let's do it a couple more times. Alex from Dallas says, I wasn't planning on going to the LSU game until I saw the ticket prices online. $111, fees included, 10-yard line lower bowl on the visitor side. Go if you can, Sooner Nation. Yeah, you can get lower-level tickets. You can get upper-level tickets really for cheap, but lower-level tickets for pretty cheap as well on the secondary markets. May have just bought mine. May have just done that today. Spartan Sooner says, if Javonte Barnes is healthy this week, who gets the start in Death Valley at RB1 with the performance Xavier Robinson just had?
Well, let's not kid ourselves here. If Javonte Barnes is healthy, he's going to start. Now, I don't necessarily know what the splits look like. Javonte Barnes.
That's what I care about more.
Yeah, Javonte Barnes would start. I feel as though you would still see a healthy dose of Xavier Robinson, because the pecking order has shifted so many times this season, Tyler, but find me anybody right now that would argue with this current pecking order in the Oklahoma backfield. Javonte Barnes 1, Xavier Robinson 2, And take your pick between Taylor Tatum and Gavin Sawchuk as number 3, but there probably aren't that many carries left for either one of those guys.
Yeah, I think you just need 2 running backs because Jackson Arnold's RB3.
Pretty much.
At this point.
Pretty much. And yeah, what's happened this year with Sawchuk is just so difficult to comprehend. After the stellar end of 2023 that he had where he rushed for 100-plus yards in 5 straight games. I mean, I don't know if I've ever been as wrong on anything as I was when I picked Gavin Sawchuk to finish all SEC preseason, Tyler, because everything would have suggested, okay, this dude is primed for an enormous year. And it's been exactly the opposite. He has, 49 rushing yards on the season? Yeah. Tyler, it's just it hasn't been working for Gavin Sawchuk. Taylor Tatum has flashed, and we've seen it. The excitement is there. But ball security, man, he's got some of the worst ball security of any running back in the country. Like, objectively, you look at how many times he's fumbled. How many running backs in the country have fumbled more than Taylor Tatum this season? And he hasn't even touched the ball all that much relative to the workload of some of the other guys that are probably on the same level as him as far as their struggles with ball security throughout the campaign. So you just can't count on him right now either to block reliably or to hang on to the football. And the 2 guys that have given themselves some leeway with this coaching staff by virtue of their performance are Javonte Barnes and Xavier Robinson. And last we saw Javonte Barnes, he rushed for 203 yards and 3 touchdowns against Maine. Last we saw Xavier Robinson, he rushed for, 118, is that what it was, and 2 touchdowns on Saturday night against Alabama. So those 2 guys have given you something. They've stepped up.
713 State of Texas, this is Doc B. Loved what JFA did Saturday, but we have to be at another level at quarterback in 2026. He may not be more than TK 2.0. Next OC needs to bring in the guy with him. I'm still worried about wide receiver. We can't play small in the SEC. Actually less worried about offensive line. You know, Brent had a very interesting response today. He had a lot of interesting responses today, but definitely an interesting response when kind of asked, like, what are you looking for? Like, what are you looking for in your next OC? What are you looking for in your next scheme? And, you know, basically what he says is, you know, I want a scheme to where you don't need a 5-star elite of the elite quarterback to operate. Now, clearly he would like that if that opportunity is available to Oklahoma. But, you know, and we can kind of talk about what he means by that. But an offense that isn't so complicated, isn't so complex that you have to have a star there, a system to where, you know, you can have a solid quarterback in there and can do some big things offensively.
Yeah. I mean, and Chonky Chunk on the text line said, what if, for whatever reason, the passing game absolutely opens up this weekend, even with our top 6 guys out? I'm just not counting on that. I don't think you can. What's going to be really interesting to consider, and, you know, there was another texter that said, what if X Robinson, what if what happens to Sawchuk happens to X Robinson next year, and he just comes out and sucks all of a sudden? We just don't know. I guess to kind of roll those 2 texts as well as what you were just referencing into one overarching thought here, Tyler. Oklahoma's offensive identity over these last 2 games, I would imagine, is going to be pretty similar to what we saw against Alabama because it is what works, speeding the game up, putting it in the hands of your defense. But it's kind of a total shot in the dark as to what Oklahoma's offensive identity is going to be next year because we can all have our guesses based on the personnel and based on the new offensive coordinator, whoever that may be, Ben Arbuckle or somebody else. But there's just going to be a ton that we don't know about this offense as a unit going into next season. So could be quite the grab bag that we're in for in that regard.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. If they go, and you kind of describe the whole maybe misconception with the air raid that's out there.
Yeah.
Here's what the new offensive coordinator is going to have going into next year. He's going to have Xavier Robinson, who into the season on an extremely hot note. He's going to have Javonte Barnes back that I thought, you know, at the time of his injury, the offensive MVP, and maybe people still think that today. It kind of feels like now, heading into next year, you got a chance to be pretty good at running back. Maybe one of your better offensive positions. Hopefully the offensive line plays well on Saturday, and you've got some real optimism with some younger guys going in next year. There's a chance that you have a solid run game. I'm hoping if it's Ben Arbuckle or Joe Craddock or whoever it is says, all right, clearly we're going to throw the ball around, do all this, but when it comes down to it, let's run Javonte Barnes downhill. Let's run Xavier Robinson downhill, because both those guys running downhill, that's deadly, man. That's really deadly.
Yeah,
can be.
There's a listener in Texas that said X just runs different than Sawchuck and Barnes. He just doesn't run full speed ahead. He's methodical, smooth, and physical. That doesn't slump. No, it doesn't. And I'm not necessarily saying they're the exact same player, because they're not, but there is a lot of Kennedy Brooks in the way that Xavier Robinson runs. I forget who it was the other day. It might have been Travis Davidson. Might have been Steely that made that comparison. I forget.
Bob Stoops made it yesterday morning on these here airways.
Oh, so there you go. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of similarities there, and methodical is a great word to describe the way that Xavier Robinson runs. And what I love about the way that a kid like that has come out and performed as a true freshman is, he's running the exact same way, and he seems to be running with the same confidence, the same authoritativeness that he would have run last year against Shawnee High School. He just was not fazed by the moment. He didn't treat it any differently when he got bell cow treatment for the first time in his young collegiate career against number 7 Alabama. So that's something you can build off. It's got to become a pattern, no doubt, because we did see some of the same things from Javonte Barnes as a freshman, and there were some struggles eventually there. So you would expect that it wouldn't slump for X, but if nothing else, man, in a year where there have been so few certainties in this Oklahoma offense, that is one thing that you feel like you can build around in the years to come, is having a running back that is, to recite that text from that listener in Texas, a running back that is methodical, smooth, and physical.
Yep. Doesn't get knocked back, man. I like him a lot. Alabama had one of their big defensive ends that met him right at the goal line on that second touchdown run that he had, and just knocked that guy back. And he's a huge body, man. He is. I like him a lot. He's big time. Okay, clearly we're watching out for Michael Fasusi. You still feel good about things. 8 days out until the early signing period. We briefly mentioned yesterday Cortez Mills, Omarion Robinson. Would it be accurate to say that after Michael Fasusi, maybe those are the two names that we need to watch, closest here over the course of the next week? Cortez Mills and Omarion Robinson. Someone else in.
I don't think you have to sweat Omarion Robinson right now. The one that you're kind of apprehensive about is Cortez Mills. And Caleb Burns goes in that same category. For the longest time, he was planning on signing in February. Now, all of a sudden, per my fine colleague Sam Spiegelman at Rivals, who just posted some intel on Caleb Burns at OUinsider.com, he is planning to sign next week. Uh-oh. So what would that tell you, Tyler? Something in his mind changed in the last week or so. What could that have been? So that certainly would lead you to believe that Oklahoma is trending in the right direction. By the way, the Waffler on the text line says X went to Carl Albert, not Shawnee. Yeah, I know Waffler. He did go to Carl Albert. I was talking about, I believe what I said was, and if I tripped over my words, my apologies, but he ran the same way against Alabama that he would have run against, like, Shawnee High School last year.
832 Mike, let me try to get all three of these questions in. He says, recruiting questions. Any update on who the OC will possibly be? It feels like it's gone quiet, which is a little uneasy to me. I would think that they would already know who that is going to be. The gone quiet thing, maybe that doesn't make me feel uneasy. Maybe it feels like we're kind of getting close to the end of this thing. It could happen in, like a week's time. Still, Arbuckle's still the favorite there for the OC. Any update on Fasusi? Sounds like he still plans to go to A&M, correct? But feel good about Oklahoma as it currently sits.
No doubt.
And then 3, do we go after another 2025 quarterback recruit? Another thing that we briefly mentioned yesterday, well, maybe they turned up the heat on a certain quarterback from Muskogee.
Maybe. Weird situation right now. You would have thought they would have already offered the kid after losing Kevin Sperry last Thursday. They have not. So, clock's ticking. Tyler, you got 8 days to figure out whether you want Jamarian Ficklin or whether you're just going to stand pat and not take a quarterback in the 2025 class. I would like to see Oklahoma take a quarterback. I don't feel like it's an absolute necessity, but when you got a guy like Jamarian Ficklin right up the road that's a 4-year contributor, state champion, and just has been otherworldly the last couple of years at Muskogee, it makes all the sense in the world to go snag him, as I see it. And I don't feel like there would be much disagreement there amongst the fan base. He is somebody that has grown exceedingly popular for his talent across the Sooner State and across Sooner Nation recently.
I got to include this, another decommit for Muleshoe, 2025 running back out of the state of Tennessee. Yeah, it's like their 12th this cycle, I think, something crazy like that. Oh, boy. All right, the Rush is coming up next. Keep it locked on the Ref for the home of Sooner fans.